Hi everyone, this is Maya with ShinKyu University, and today I'm going to come and teach you what an oshi-day is, how an oshi-day can very heavily strengthen your practice and perfect your practice, and that how not utilizing your oshi-day can really be a detriment to your practice without you even knowing about it. So a lot of good things to learn in today's live Wednesday. Very excited to share this information with you. Before we move on to the content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps the algorithm here on YouTube tell other acupuncturists and bring this video to other acupuncturists who are also looking to strengthen and better their practice. And that really is the goal for all of us, to elevate our practice so we can help more people around the globe to feel better and live their best lives. So with saying that, my name again is Maya Suzuki. If this is your first time joining me here on ShinKyu University, as I just said, the whole goal of ShinKyu University is to spread Japanese medicine. In my very egotistical belief, I fully believe that Japanese medicine can very much strengthen the practice, the acupuncture practice of most of the practitioners on the planet, and help them to alleviate even more pain and suffering from those around the globe. So thank you so much for supporting my cause. If you are interested in gaining full mentorship and membership to ShinKyu University, where you can learn all about Japanese medicine, acupuncture, moxibustion theory, and so much more, as well as really gain a great foundation to the technical aspects of your acupuncture moxibustion practice. Don't forget to go into the description box below and hit on the schedule interview now link, and then we can both discuss. It'll be a one-on-one conversation with me, and we can discuss if ShinKyu University is a really good fit for you and your practice, and if your goals are in line with the goals of the program. All right, so saying that, let's get into this. I decided to make this live Wednesday all about your oshi-day. For those of you who don't know, the oshi-day is your guide hand. For me, that's my non-dominant left hand. If you are a left-handed person and dominant left-hand person, then your non-dominant hand would be your right. So you'd be using your right hand for your oshi-day. I decided to use this live Wednesday's forum to talk about the oshi-day because I find that it is oftentimes the least talked about and one of the most influential and important points of acupuncture practice in Japanese medicine, hands down. Not only is it giving you that aspect of palpation as you're treating with your hand consistently on the patient, like a guide hand would be in massage therapy. Unfortunately, a guide hand massage therapy is just there to calm the patient. The oshi-day really in Japanese medicine is there to not only receive information with your non-dominant hand, that for me, that left hand, but also it's there to steady and control the shaft of the needle. And then also to manipulate the needle, and then also to be receiving, again, that information from the needle and understanding what's going on. Now, your dominant hand, for me, my right hand is considered your sashi-day. That's the hand that inserts the needle. It's literally your insertion hand is the sashi-day. And the sashi-day is there to not only receive information traveling through the needle, so that ki or chi that is flowing through both into the patient but out of the patient, but it's also there to really do a lot of manipulation with the needle. Both hands are incredibly important for your insertion. Let's first talk about this oshi-day and really what it does and why we use it. And I'm not sure why it's not really there in the TCM, more than likely because it just wasn't part of Chinese medicine, I assume, but I'm not 100% that the Chinese did at some point did not have an oshi-day, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that. However, I've never seen a Chinese practice with an oshi-day, so we'll see. So we're going to get straight into the practice, and for that, I'm going to put my camera a little bit down here. Now, your oshi-day, let me grab a needle. Your oshi-day, I'm just going to use my little Teishin toolkit. These are on sale on ShinKyu University if you are interested. Now, these are silver needles. This is a silver guide tube. You do not need to use either. You can have just a totally regular needle. Your oshi-day, normally when you would hold a needle, right, you're going to hold a needle so it's here. And then you might hold it up above it. So if this was your patient, you're going to hold it so you're not actually touching your patient. And then most people just smack that needle in. Now, how that is really supposed to look is you're supposed to take that needle, really envelop the guide tube with your index finger and your thumb, Have a full, nice, soft and gentle contact, relaxed shoulder, relaxed elbow, and then you're supposed to tap in 3 times. Now, there's a lot of little mistakes that are taught and propagated within the Western side of Japanese medicine through no fault of anyone. One of the biggest mistakes I often see is people grip the oshi-day. They grip it and try to really hold on to that guide tube. And what that does when you grip it is it creates a half moon. If you can see with my fingers here, how this shape here is a half moon, when ideally you want this full moon shape. Now, depending on where you're inserting the needle, half moon and full moon does come into play. But for right now, we're going to only have you try to stick with this full moon shape here in between. So you should see a circle when you're looking down on the top of your oshi-day there. You can see that this is circled. It's not in a half moon shape. Okay, so that's the very first mistake that I see very, very frequently, is that people are really holding and squeezing and putting pressure either in the forearm or in the hand or in the shoulder. The second very large mistake I see with people is that they're holding their elbow too close to their body when they insert, and that just doesn't. What it does is it, first of all, tightens up the whole arm, but it also doesn't give you any range of motion to be able to move. The third mistake I see very frequently is people do what I call cutting off their wrist. It just literally means rather than being round and kind of in a qigong posture, you end up being quite cut off here, and that cuts off the flow of qi and blood. So just being nice and round and relaxed. And those are really the top mistakes that I see. There's a lot of other mistakes. Now, saying that, let's go in to some of the reasons why this can really, really help your practice. So let's see if I can be in the frame and have my hands in the frame. So one of the first things that it's going to do when you start using an oshi-day is it's actually going to control the shaft of the needle. And so what that means, if I can, here we go. What it means is usually when people insert the needle, even if they're holding the guide tube halfway up, which I see quite frequently with TCM practitioners, what happens is it becomes really unstable. You can see like the guide tube already started moving around. And in order to stabilize that, what a lot of people do is they push down really hard into their patient, and that's a little uncomfortable for the client, right? So when I hold here and then I try to do something, like it just becomes very unstable. Whenever my arm moves, the whole guide tube is going to move. Now, the opposite of that, of course, is when I hold here at the base of the guide tube, at the base next to my client, what's going to happen instead is that the shaft is going to be very, very stable. And yes, you're still going to have minimal movement here and there. We're all human beings. We still do move around, but it's going to be very stabilizing. And so what that's going to mean is that your needling is going to be a lot more exact, like 100% more exact than if my hand was just holding it willy-nilly. So the other thing that's going to happen is that once we take this guide tube off and we've actually inserted it into the client, I'm going to try to move this camera so you can see a little bit closer on the needle. It's a little harder to see these needles. So let's say I'm just freehanding it. Now, this needle is a 20 by 50. It's a very thin silver needle. And so when you get to this gauge of needle, what happens, if you can see from hopefully you can see that with the light reflection, is that it becomes very easy to bend. Now, a lot of people, to get around this, what they end up doing is using a shorter shaft. But when you use a shorter shaft, you're not able to get as deep into the body. Fun fact, Japanese medicine is not all shallow needling. You can needle quite deeply, depending. So you can't get as deep into the body. And then you also don't have the flexion of the shaft that you can eventually start utilizing your technique to play with. And eventually your technique should get to the point where you do want to utilize that flexion, but very specifically. And when I say flexion, meaning the actual movement of this shaft is something that eventually you're going to utilize in order to change the needle direction within the body, and do a lot of other things. So it's really important. Another thing people often do when they don't have a solid guide hand is they're going to actually hold the shaft of the needle in order to insert it, let's say with a lifting and thrusting freehand technique. Um, if it's this gauge of needle, right? If it's something that's slightly stronger in the shaft or shorter, they might still just be holding the handle, but then it's going to be quite pokey. You're going to get that searing hot poker feeling when you're inserting the needle, which is never good. Like, that's not a happy feeling for anybody. So what you have instead, if you have your oshi-day, that left guide hand or non-dominant guide hand, what it's going to look like instead is your guide hand is going to envelop the shaft of that needle, and it's going to stabilize it a lot like your guide tube is. And then you're going to be able to insert that needle, depending on what you do, either with, this is called a nenshin technique, or with something that looks more like this, which is a lifting and thrusting, right? And you're going to be able to insert it without the wobbliness of the shaft, which is incredibly helpful. It's painless if you do it correctly. But there's a few things that you have to know in order to get to that point. Number one, you're going to have to put in some time, energy, and effort in order to really develop your oshi-day, develop that guide hand to be that support system for your insertion hand. Two, I highly suggest that you find a mentor, someone who knows how to utilize their guide hand, that oshi-day, simply because it's hard. It's very difficult to learn all on your own without someone who's very good guiding you and also teaching you how it should feel and should look. That's one of the reasons why I created ShinKyu University, is because people who are able to do that are few and far between, and they usually don't live down your local township. So if you're interested in getting that kind of mentorship, again, there's a link in the description box below. I would love to mentor you both online and in person through ShinKyu University. So yeah, taking that time, energy, and effort to really build up your oshi-day is very important. It does take time. And then two, getting that mentorship to make sure you're taking the right energy and effort in your time frame to get that right practice. And of course, the third thing is starting to get feedback on what you're doing. Now, initially, when you introduce something new into your tool case, that new thing is very rarely the best thing that you can do. So a lot of people go, oh, I can't do it in the first 2-3 times, and then they just give up. But I highly suggest that you put the time, energy, and effort into this, because like I said, it's going to solidify the shaft, going to make it more controllable. And anything that is more controllable is going to be able to get more finite responses by having more technical abilities later on in the development of your practice. So taking the needle and being able to change direction within the body, being able to attract, right, and disperse ki more effectively, or to tonify ki more correctly. All of these things are really decided within your oshi-day. It's very important, and it can make or break your practice, in my opinion. And guess what? All Japanese acupuncturists that I know of utilize their oshi-day. I don't know anybody who does not. So last but not least, I want to tell you how you can utilize your oshi-day, your non-dominant guide hand, on the shaft of your needle and still stay true to clean needle technique. Now, this part is going to be a little bit more annoying, but if you need to adhere to clean needle technique, it's very easy. You're going to take a piece of clean cotton, maybe a cotton ball or something like that, and take a thin strip of that cotton ball, maybe take it in half or in fourths, and you're going to wrap it around the base of the needle, and then your finger is going to be touching the clean cotton will be touching the shaft of that needle, and that will make it a clean needle technique over and above your standard cleaning the points, cleaning your hands, using, of course, a brand new needle for each client kind of thing. All right, so that was a lot of information packed really into 15 minutes. I hope that you found benefit from today. I would love to hear if you have any questions about oshi-day, if you utilize it in your practice already. Go ahead and put that in the comments below. And yeah, I'm so excited that I got this chance to practice and share this information with you today. If you are interested in that lifetime mentorship, go ahead and click in the link below. I would love to talk to you. And until I see you next time, happy practicing. I will see you every Wednesday here around 5 o'clock or so for this live Wednesday, by the way. So I hope to see you next time. See you guys.